Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is sugarcoat, and this verb was suggested by the viewer Artem. Artem, thank you so much for today's suggestion. Now let's take a moment and review some of the definitions or the ways that we can use this verb. The first way you may encounter the verb sugarcoat is in connection to cooking. So this is when we are going to cover or coat an item of food with sugar. Okay, pretty straightforward. We'll see some examples of it a little bit later, but this might be a step in the process of making a dessert or other baked good. A second way you might encounter sugarcoat can mean to make something superficially attractive or acceptable. So here we're really trying to influence how someone is going to receive something. This very much is related to our third definition, to present something in a way that makes it seem more positive or pleasant than it really is, or than it actually is. So sometimes you might hear this used in connection with the truth, right? Just tell me the truth. Don't sugarcoat things, right? So don't try and make it seem nice, right? I want you to be real with me or straight with me. A fourth way you might encounter sugarcoat means to make something excessively sentimental. For now, you should know that sugarcoat is a regular verb. If you want to make the progressive form of this verb, we're going to add an ing, and that forms sugarcoating. The past tense and the participle form of our verb can be made by adding ed, but we have a small change in the presentation of the word. You're going to notice a hyphen between sugar and coat here before we add that ed ending. When I pronounce sugar-coated, id, I hope you can hear that, I'm adding an extra syllable, and that's because our base verb ends with a t or t sound. Okay? So it's going to require that id sound when we add ed. Now, I'll pause for a moment just to mention we don't have any phrasal verbs that we need to practice. So instead, we can move on to doing a little verb tense practice with our verb. Today, I thought it might be good to review the imperative because we may encounter it used in this way. Let's start with the affirmative, with our imperative. You might remember that this is a command where we're telling someone either to do an action in the affirmative or not to do an action when we have the negative. The imperative is unique because we do not have a stated subject. Our sentence is not beginning with I, you, we, some noun phrase, the name of a person or place or thing, none of that. Right? Instead, we can just begin our sentence with the base verb. So you might see the steps in a recipe include something like this. Sugarcoat the cookies while the oven preheats. Right? So it's telling you exactly what to do. Okay? Now, if you want to make a negative imperative sentence, to do this, you'll start with do not and then the base verb. Here again, we are strongly telling someone what to do. This is different than a suggestion, right? It's more like a command. So, an example of this, don't sugarcoat reality. Tell me the truth. Okay, so here, don't make something sound better than what it really is. Okay. Now, we don't have any questions in the imperative. Again, these are commands. And sometimes students tell me that speaking or writing in this way can feel a bit uncomfortable. Like it feels impolite. So if you have that feeling, just know you can add please to the beginning of a sentence or add please to the end of an imperative sentence. And that might help you feel a little more comfortable speaking or writing in that way. Now let's move on and make some sentences in the present perfect. We can use this verb tense in a couple different situations. Sometimes we'll use it in what's called the indefinite past tense. So here we don't have a definite or known time in mind as we're speaking or writing. That time just might not be important. We just need to know that the action was completed at some point in the past. Another way we use the present perfect is to talk about an action that started in the past and continues into the present. The present perfect is a verb tense where we need to pay attention to our subject. So our verb form will change a bit. If our subject is I, you, we, or they, we'll use have and then our participle form of the verb. But if our subject is he, she, or it, we'll use has and then the participle form of the verb. Let's take a look at our first example. The filmmaker has sugarcoated the material in her latest documentary. This sentence might be an example of our fourth definition from earlier in the video, where we're talking about something, making something kind of overly sentimental. Now, if you want to make a negative present perfect sentence, again, pay attention to your subject. You'll use either have or has, then not, and then that participle form the verb. Now, you might encounter contractions here, so have not can be haven't, or has not can be hasn't. But either of those will always be followed by our participle form of the verb. Let's take a look at an example sentence. They haven't sugarcoated one moment of their adventures in parenthood. Saw a sentence very similar to this, describing, I believe, kind of a social media influencer type. Or actually, I think it was a married couple, hence the they as a subject. So here they were trying to say, like, they haven't made things appear better, nicer, easier than what they really are like. Finally, let's take a look at making a yes or no question in the present perfect. To do this, start with have or has. Whatever form matches your subject, that subject comes next. Then we're going to use our participle form of the verb. Here's another example. Have the coaches sugarcoated what the players need to do to earn their starting roles? Saw some different examples of sugarcoat being used in connection to sports. Again, I think it was really being used in a way to make it seem like people were avoiding maybe a difficult or unpleasant topic, something that might not feel great to hear. But again, a lot of people don't like that, right? They want to be told the truth. Now, we're going to spend a moment, and I normally talk about related words, and we really don't have one specifically connected to this. Of course, we could look at our individual or root words here, but there is one phrase you might encounter. And this phrase has a couple variations, so let me state them and then we'll try and explain them. So you might hear someone say, sugarcoat a pill, sugarcoat a bitter pill. You might hear sugarcoat the pill or the bitter pill. All of these different forms really mean the same thing, and that is to take something that is bad or unpleasant and try and make it easier to cope with or endure or to accept. Let's look at an example sentence here to see if it'll help us understand it. She tried to sugarcoat the pill by stressing how minor the damage was as she confessed to wrecking her dad's car. Oh. So this is a bad situation, right? You caused damage, or this person, she, caused damage to a family member's car, right? This is bad and that's unpleasant. So to try and make it not so bad, right? It's very, very minor. You'll never notice it, right? Again, trying to make it seem better or easier to deal with. Well, I really appreciate Artem's suggestion for today's verb. I think it's a very interesting one, and maybe you'll encounter it as you're reading or listening to someone else. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.